Sunny Radio, where it's always in the 80s. Thank you so much for joining us today. I've got a special guest on the phone with me here. I've got Bob Black, and he's got a special program coming up at the Old Courthouse Museum, and we're going to be talking about something that's very timely, especially leading up to Memorial Day. First of all, let's say good morning to Bob. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you.
Now, the project that you are working on right now, how long have you been working on this project, first of all?
Well, it started probably about 2006, where we started building a database from the WPA listing of burials in Minnehaha County. Then we went on to gather some other information. Shortly after that, decided that maybe we needed to go out and look at some cemeteries to kind of update what we had.
You take photographs at each of these cemeteries, and you've got quite a collection of some very interesting images, don't you?
Yeah, it was rather interesting going through them. These kind of lonely old country cemeteries. Some of them have some ethnic stones in them. Some of them have just very interesting shapes. Some of them a little bit of interesting story behind them, too. The title of my talk, actually, is Every Stone Has a Story.
Yeah.
And we tried to capture a few of those as well as document what was in the cemetery or who was in the cemetery.
What are some of the more interesting stones that you found? Because I saw some of the images. There's some really interesting stones.
Yes, they vary from quite elaborate carvings. Some of them, I remember one of the old cemeteries, I think in the southwest part of this county, quite elaborate stones. Basically, the carving was in an Eastern European language, probably Czechoslovakian, but that's a guess. Some with German, there's some with Arabic, some with Hebrew, German, Norwegian, quite an interesting array.
And those are all in the Minnehaha County area?
That's correct.
Again, visiting with Bob Black right now. You're going to be doing a presentation at the Old Courthouse Museum. When is that presentation for people who'd like to come check it out?
It will be on the 19th at 7 o'clock.
So that's this Thursday at 7 o'clock at the Old Courthouse Museum. Is there a charge to get into that, or is this a free event?
As far as I know, it's a free event. It's the meeting of the Minnehaha County Historical Society.
And that's a great group of people, and I know they're looking for additional members. So if maybe you're listening and you're going, I'm kind of interested in history, maybe this would be a great chance to go. You'd have a chance to hear Bob do his presentation and meet some of the other members of the Minnehaha County Historical Society. And if it's something you like, maybe get involved and be a part of it. It's a great group that's preserving our history, and that is so important, isn't it, Bob?
That it is, yes.
And again, the presentation is this Thursday, 7 p.m. at the Old Courthouse Museum. We'll chat more about that in a little bit. I want to kind of go back to your project. Every stone has a story. Now, some of the stones that you're seeing have kind of interesting inscriptions on them, don't they?
Yes. There's one that I particularly like. It's in the Hartford Cemetery, and it's Ida Rich Boy, 1889, 1973. And it looks like a pun. I'm not sure it is. But Ida Rich, one of the families around the Hartford area, evidently, in my understanding, married into the Boy family. And it comes out Ida Rich Boy. And there's another one in one of the northeastern cemeteries. Just has a name on it and hired hand. No dates on, but evidently just
someone that worked with them on the farm, and when they passed away, they probably didn't know when they were born, so they just said, "Well,
right.
We're going to at least give him a place."
Yeah, gave him a burial place and put a name tag on him and nameplate on him and buried him there. There's a couple others out in Hartford. A Colton man is all it says on the stone.
A Colton man.
Colton man. Evidently they knew where he's from, but that's all they knew about him. Then there's another one, a carnival worker or circus worker came to Sioux Falls and was murdered. Nobody knew anything about him at the time, except his name was Mule, and evidently a strong, hard-working man by the moniker. He's buried in the county cemetery up north of town here, but at that time they did not put down markers, so they know where he's buried. They have the plots laid out, but there's no marker for him, but there's a man named Mule buried in that cemetery.
I remember as a kid, every year on Memorial Day, we would go to the cemetery, and you'd go there to see your loved ones that have been lost, but as you're pulling in and as you're walking to the gravesite, you walk by all of these other stones, and some of them are really elaborate, some are really simple, and it always kind of makes you wonder, I wonder what the story is behind this one over here that's really simple, and this one over here that's just so elaborate. And that's kind of what you've done over the last decade now on this project. Every stone has a story, and all of the ones that you're working on are in Minnehaha County, so it's really near and dear to us. And folks, if you go and watch the presentation, you might even see somebody on the images there that you're related to, because some of these people probably still have family around here, don't they?
Yes. In fact, it was rather interesting to see kind of the movement of the family from the outer reaches of Minnehaha County, and then many of the same names ending up in the large cemeteries here in Sioux Falls. And I'm assuming there's, in many cases, there's a connection.
Definitely. Well, Bob, thank you for doing what you're doing. This is something that really is fascinating, and I know that there are probably some people listening right now that think, well, what a weird hobby to have. Do you get that a lot when you talk to people that think, well, that's kind of bizarre?
Yes. It was an interesting couple of summers taking these pictures and kind of get a strange feeling and strange connection with some of these cemeteries as you're out there wandering around one for 2 or 3 hours at a time.
Well, if you'd like to see the program, again, it's this Thursday. It is at 7 p.m. at the Old Courthouse Museum. I believe it is free to attend. It's put on by the Minnehaha County Historical Society. And if you go to this and you really enjoy it and you say, man, I want to get involved and be a part of this group, I know they would love to have you as well. Bob, thank you so much for doing this, and I appreciate you taking time to chat with us today.
Well, thank you, too. And hope we get some good turnout.
I'm going to plan on being there. I think it sounds like a lot of fun. I'm fascinated with history, and it's interesting because I know a lot of things about history from other places, but very little about history from here, other than what I've read in a little historical book about Minnehaha County and just the little bit that I've had a chance to see firsthand. But I know we've got a fascinating past in this area, and it's always fun to learn more.
Yes.
Well, thank you again, Bob. You have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
And again, right there, Bob Black, you can see him do a presentation this Thursday, 7 p.m., at the Old Courthouse Museum. That's in downtown Sioux Falls at 200 West 6th Street. Thank you again for joining us on the John and Heidi Show.